done this in a long time. So what's going on, everybody? It's your boy J Knows Tech back with another review video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Roccat 120 Aimo keyboard. That's a long name, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the design of the keyboard. Now, the Roccat 120 Aimo keyboard has a anodized aluminum top plate, so build quality is going to be very durable, nice and hefty. Second of all, it looks really good. Now, I've used a lot of keyboards in my time. I've been doing PC for years, and I have to say this is one of the best looking keyboards I've seen. It's very thin, has a nice thin profile, very skinny. It is a little bit heavy, so the one that I have is going to weigh about 1,150 grams, so it's not a light keyboard, but it does definitely feel very durable. So if you are looking for something that has some toughness to it, might last, but also is going to be nice and thin, nothing too bulky, this is definitely a keyboard you want to look at. Now, of course, it also comes with a wrist pad. Now, if you are not interested in the wrist pad, they also have the 100 Aimo keyboard, which is the exact same keyboard, but it just doesn't come with the pad at all. And I will say that even though it's not something that I particularly think is the best wrist pad implementation on a keyboard, I personally prefer the Razors with their leather padding. I do understand why it is very thin, and it's just because the keyboard's also thin as well, so do keep that in mind. Most people may not use a wrist pad when they're gaming or even typing, but if you are a person that does use it and you want something that's a little more comfortable, this is probably not going to be the one you want. I would probably say go ahead and get the Aimo 100 keyboard if you're looking for something without the wrist pad. But as far as the look of it, it's really nice. I love the way it looks. I love the aluminum top plate. It definitely doesn't really give off a gamer look if you didn't have the RGB lights enabled. It kind of is very stealthy, so I do like that. So if you are somebody who maybe wants to have a gaming keyboard but doesn't want to have the gamer's look, this is probably something you may want to take a look at because it doesn't scream gamer, just kind of screams, you know, keyboard with lights. So one thing I also forgot to mention as well is the actual cable itself. So the 120 Aimo keyboard has a braided cable. Now I know some people are not necessarily fans of the braided cable. Some people like non-braided cables, some people like braided cables. I'm either or, braided or non-braided, doesn't matter to me. But of course it may depend on what you're looking to have, but it does have a braided cable, so that is something to keep in mind. So definitely will help for durability, but if you're moving the keyboard around, not like you would a mouse, but if you just maybe are adjusting it, you may get snatched up onto your desk. So it depends. I know everybody has their preference, but I just wanted to let you know that I necessarily wouldn't consider it a deal breaker, but if you're not a fan of braided cables, period, you may not want to go with this keyboard here. Oh, and also let's not forget the keyboard does have the kickstand at the bottom, so if you want to prop it up, maybe a little bit more comfortable for ergonomics, got that too. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the switches on the keyboard, because what is a gaming keyboard without the switches? So the switches are going to be actually custom made by Roccat themselves, so they are calling it the Titan switches. So with these switches that Roccat gives on the keyboard, it gives you a tactile and silent feedback. And I do have to say that from my experience using the keyboard, it definitely does sound a little bit more quiet than some other keyboards, and it does have a pretty good tactile feel. I do like the way mechanical keyboards sound. That's just me. You may not, but it definitely does a really good job. So if you are, say, a streamer or somebody who maybe is going to use the keyboard in maybe an office space where there's going to be a lot of people and you don't want to be rude and have yourself typing away and they're like, come on guys, what are you doing? Then this is probably the keyboard that you want to consider as well. Now, not only does it allow for tactile and silent feedback, but it also allows for a faster response. So with the type of switch that they use, Roccat claims that the firmware is able to recognize it up to 20% faster than other keyboards. Now, in my usage, I normally use it for playing games. So one game I play a lot is Overwatch, and I will say between the 120 Aimo and another keyboard that I've used before and other keyboards that I've used, I don't really notice the difference as far as the response time as for when I actually press down on the key and it's showing up on the screen. Now again, that's just me. You may notice a difference with some of the keyboards, but personally, for my use, they all do a pretty good job of responding. I never had any latency or lag before, so this is no exception either. Gameplay was very smooth, nice. I do also like the keycaps that they use as well. So these are their Vulcan ultralight keycaps. So they're going to be very, very thin keycaps, but they also have a little indentation on them as well. So very comfortable to type on, play games with, do other things as well. Pretty precise, very smooth, so definitely do like it. And of course, it does add to the aesthetics of the keyboard. It shows a lot more of the RGB lights, which for me, I personally like. Again, your mileage may vary, but I like the way it kind of looks. It actually kind of accentuates the keyboard, gives it, you know, some help, or accents it, whatever you want to call it. So for me, the switches are pretty good, and the keycaps are also really good as well. So if you are looking for something that maybe has a little bit faster response time, maybe you've used a keyboard that's just not good, this is also another option for you. But for my personal use, I haven't noticed too big of a difference there. Alrighty, so a few other things to mention on the keyboard. Now, on the top right hand corner, there is actually a knob and 3 buttons. So the knob, depending on what mode you press, is going to either be your volume or allow you to customize the RGB lights, I believe, on the keyboard itself. And you also have your mute button as well, along with the volume button, and then using the knob to adjust it. So that's how you would change the volume. So that's something that's a nice addition to it as well. I do like the fact that you have the knob instead of having to do a function and then choose a shortcut at the top. Makes it a little bit easier to adjust your volume, especially when you're playing in a game. And then also the software. Now, the software is going to be Roccat's Swarm software. So of course, when you download it, you are greeted with the screen to update the keyboard. So that's something to keep in mind when you start. You're going to want to update the keyboard. But the software itself is, I would say, definitely not bad. It gives you a lot of customization with the keyboard. So you have the ability to customize the sounds, which I thought was actually really interesting. Not a lot of software out there for keyboards and mice, or even keyboards in general, allow you to customize the way it sounds. So you can have like a typewriter sound, or you can have a little click. I disabled that. I don't really need that because the keyboard does it by itself. But if you're into that thing, then it's there for you. And you can also change the illumination. So like I said, this is going to be a RGB lit keyboard, so you do have full illumination. So they have different type of illuminations that you can do. So you have the wave, which of course shows you all of the colors on the keyboard. You have the breathing effect, which allows you to see the keyboard almost like as if it's breathing, kind of like how we would breathe. You also have heartbeat, which does the pulsating motion like a heart. You have reactive, which when you press down on the key, the entire keyboard will kind of do a quick flash of lights. You have Snake, which does a snake pattern. So if you've ever played Snake before, you know what that looks like, which I thought was pretty cool. You also have their Aimo illumination, which also, if you have other Roccat peripherals, will allow you to sync those up as well, because each key on the keyboard is going to be individually lit. Roccat says about 16.8 million different colors that you can choose from, which is a lot of colors. So, and there are also more customizations that you can do as far as the illuminations as well. And you can also do your own custom. Of course, you can do static, so just choosing a single color. So overall, the software definitely gives you an opportunity to customize a lot with the keyboard. I'm not a big fan of the way it looks. It is a little bit on the clunkier side. Not the best looking software, but it definitely gives you a lot of things that you can do and change up on the keyboard. So definitely do give Roccat props for something like that there. Alright, so overall, the Roccat 120 Aimo keyboard is actually a very good keyboard. I was thoroughly impressed with it. It definitely sets itself apart from the competitors, just overall with its design. So like I said before, you can definitely tell that it is a gamer keyboard, but then at the same time, it doesn't scream gamer keyboard. So it is a little bit more stealthy in that aspect. I love the way it looks as far as its design. The Vulcan ultralight keycaps definitely do help it. Very thin profile keyboard, so I definitely do like that as well. Not as bulky as other ones, especially for its size. Definitely really good build quality on there. And most of the keyboards now are starting to get a lot better with the build quality, so I'm overall impressed with that as well. I love the illumination. I think the fact that the keycaps are so thin definitely helps when you're using like the wave pattern or any illumination on the keyboard. Definitely kind of makes it stand out a lot more than when the keycap is completely covering the light. So I definitely do like that. I'm not a big fan of the wrist pad. I understand why it's there. Of course, it's a thin keyboard, so they can only do so much. But I would have definitely liked to see maybe a different type of wrist pad. I'm not really big into the hard plastic. Like I said, personally for me, I like the Razer keyboards, wrist pads. Those are a little more comfortable because they're made out of leather. But because the keyboard is very thin, then it's understandable why they couldn't actually implement maybe leather on there. But again, if you don't want to have the wrist pad, they do have different versions of the keyboard. So like I said before, you do have the Roccat 100 keyboard, which is the same keyboard just without that wrist pad. So if you are interested in that, then they also have that to purchase as well. But overall, I was definitely very impressed with the keyboard. I haven't used Roccat peripherals before, but this was actually the first one I used, and so far I'm impressed with that one. So I'm actually curious to know what you guys think, if you guys have used Roccat peripherals before, or what are your thoughts on the keyboard if you've used it. Let me know down in the comments below. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know it was a little bit short, and I know I haven't made a video in a while. I do apologize, but we're back coming in. So if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure, of course, you guys give this video a thumbs up. Let me know you love it, you want to see more of it. I do have other stuff I want to review in the future. And for all you guys who are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. Glad you guys are here. And for those of you guys who are subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for subscribing. Make sure you subscribe if you are not a subscriber. We're going to be having a lot more videos coming up in the future. But as always, guys, my name is Tech, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay techy.